My name is Linda Jensen. I'm 29 years old, and I've spent 2 years loving a man who mistakes chaos for freedom. When I first met Jay Alford, he felt like a thunderstorm in human form, loud, electric, alive. He was 27 then, with a sun-streaked beard and the kind of smile that made you forget what you were about to say. He called himself a visual storyteller, though most people knew him as an authentic lifestyle influencer. He had 15,000 followers who adored his dreamy photos, bonfires on the beach, desert roads, quotes about trusting the universe. I worked in marketing, the structured kind that lives by calendars and deadlines. Maybe that's why he fascinated me. Jay never checked the time, never said no to an impulse. Once on a Tuesday night, he showed up at my apartment holding a box of takeout from my favorite Thai place. "Come on," he said, eyes bright. "Let's eat it on the roof. The moon looks forgiving tonight." I should have known then he didn't plan moments. He collected them. At first, I loved that. His spontaneity felt like oxygen after years of suffocating routine. He'd drive us to the mountains before dawn just to chase the sun. He'd show up outside my office, unannounced, camera in hand, capturing what he called unfiltered joy. I became his muse without realizing it. But the longer we were together, the more I noticed the imbalance. Jay was only spontaneous when he wanted to be. When I tried to plan something, a dinner reservation, a weekend trip, even a simple movie night, it somehow always collided with his energy. He missed my birthday dinner because he lost track of time at a meditation circle. He skipped my firm's annual gala, a big deal for me, because structured events drain my aura. The day of my nephew's baptism, he texted, "Sorry, babe. Organized religion messes with my frequency. You understand, right?" I did understand too well. I understood that everything revolved around his comfort, his mood, his rhythm. Still, I made excuses. He's creative. He doesn't mean harm. He's different. My friends noticed before I did. They started calling him Maybe Jay, because when I invited him anywhere, his answer was always maybe. Then came my cousin's wedding, the one I'd been looking forward to for months. It wasn't just any wedding. I was a bridesmaid, and it was the first big family event where everyone would finally meet Jay. I booked us a beautiful boutique hotel, even bought him a new linen shirt that matched the wedding theme. Friday morning, as I packed my phone, buzzed. "Jay, babe. I'm so sorry, but I can't go. Weddings feel too institutional right now. Plus, Mercury's in retrograde. You understand, right?" I read it twice, then once more just to make sure I wasn't hallucinating. 2 years of disappointment compacted into that single text. I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at his message until the words blurred. Finally, I typed, "Of course, do what feels right." He replied with a heart emoji. I stared at it until the screen dimmed. That weekend, I went to the wedding alone, smiled through the pitying looks, laughed at jokes that weren't funny, answered everyone's polite, "Where's Jay?" with the same rehearsed line. He couldn't make it artistic commitments. Inside, something in me began to fracture quietly like glass under heat. The next morning, while nursing a headache and a fake smile, I opened Instagram. And there it was. A photo of Jay barefoot on a beach, firelight dancing against his skin. Around him, a group of strangers holding hands, laughing. His caption read, "Some souls can't be caged. Free spirit, authentic, unbound." My thumb hovered over the screen. Underneath the photo, people commented things like, "Preach, King. Your energy is contagious. Never change." I felt a small bitter laugh bubble up. Never change. He never would. I typed a single comment, couldn't agree more. Within minutes, Jay replied, "Knew you'd understand, babe. This is why we work." I stared at his words. This is why we work. 2 years of forgiving, adjusting, waiting, shrinking myself to make space for his freedom. I didn't reply. I didn't like the comment either. I just took a screenshot, locked my phone, and sat there in silence. That's when it hit me. I'd been living in his orbit for 2 years, spinning around his moods, mistaking motion for connection. But in that stillness, a new kind of clarity settled over me. Maybe it was the hangover, maybe exhaustion, or maybe I was finally done. I whispered it aloud just to hear how it sounded. "Good, because I'm about to set you free." The words didn't sound angry. They sounded clean, certain, like the first inhale after rain. For the first time in years, I wasn't waiting for Jay to show up. I was planning to disappear. Monday morning, my alarm went off at 6:30, the same as always. I stared at the ceiling for a long moment before reaching for my phone, not to check messages, but to open the HR portal. My fingers didn't even tremble as I typed the words, requesting emergency leave. Family matter. It wasn't a lie, not really. I was the family, and I was finally the emergency. After sending the email, I turned my phone face down on the table and let the silence hum through the apartment. The air smelled like rain from the night before, and for once there was no waiting for Jay's text, his apology, his promise to make it up to me. By noon, I had packed a small weekend bag and locked the apartment door behind me. I didn't know where I was going, just that it needed to be away. My first stop was a quiet cafe near the Botanical Gardens, the kind Jay called corporate coffee traps. I ordered a cappuccino and the most indulgent pastry they had. I sat by the window watching the morning light spill across the marble floor. For the first time in years, I ate slowly. No phone, no photos, no curated moment. Just me. Halfway through my coffee, I felt that familiar itch of habit of wanting to share to post to prove something. But this time, I didn't want to prove anything. I wanted to reclaim something. So I took a picture anyway. A soft, candid shot of the half-eaten croissant coffee steam curling in the air. My caption, "Following my bliss today." I hit post. 10 minutes later, a comment appeared. Jay, "That's my girl, keep flowing." I almost laughed. Of course he'd approve of this version of me, the gentle aesthetic, the illusion of peace. He had no idea it was the prelude to a storm. The next day I drove to the pottery studio I'd bookmarked months ago, but never visited, because Jay said working with clay felt too heavy. The irony wasn't lost on me. The instructor, a man in his early 30s with clay on his forearms, smiled as I walked in. "First class," he asked. "First anything in a while," I replied. As I shaped my first lopsided bowl, something inside me steadied. My hands moved, my breathing slowed, and the noise in my head began to fade. When the class ended, I took a photo of my uneven creation and posted it with another caption, "Creating my own path." This time Jay's comment came faster. "Jay, wait, where are you?" "Call me." No emoji, no playful tone, just confusion and a hint of panic. I turned my phone off. Wednesday, I drove 2 hours north to a quiet beach I'd only seen in travel blogs. Not the trendy one Jay loved for his authentic bonfire sessions, but a deserted cove where the ocean spoke in whispers instead of applause. I sat there for hours. No filters, no followers, just the hiss of waves and my own thoughts raw and unedited. As the sun dipped low, painting the sky in amber and rose, I opened my phone one last time. Took a single photo, just the horizon and my footprints in the sand. The caption read, "Sometimes you have to flow where the universe takes you." I posted it and stared at the screen. No comment from Jay, not even a like. But within seconds, I felt something better than his attention. Peace. I closed the app, turned off my phone again, and leaned back against the warm sand. For the first time in 2 years, I wasn't waiting for someone to choose me. I was choosing myself. That night, I rented a small cabin by the coast. Wooden walls, soft lamplight, ocean breeze slipping through the curtains. It smelled like salt and pine. I poured a glass of wine, sat by the window, and scrolled through my own profile. The photos of me smiling beside Jay, the travel shots he insisted we take the captions I'd written to make him look stable, grounded. Every image was curated proof of a life that didn't exist. I hit archive on every single one. By the time the clock struck midnight, my page was almost empty. A blank canvas. Just 3 new posts, the coffee, the pottery, the beach. My own life uncluttered. When my phone buzzed again, I almost ignored it. But curiosity got the better of me. 48 missed calls. 62 messages. I didn't open them, but the previews were enough. "Where are you?" "This isn't funny. I'm worried sick. Why are you ignoring me, Linda? I swear if you don't call." Then one final one at the bottom. "So this is how you want to play it." I smiled faintly. It wasn't a game. It was a reckoning. I locked the phone and let the night wash over me, the sound of waves, the creak of wood, the whisper of wind through trees. Then softly I said the same words Jay had once carved into the caption of his bonfire photo, "Can't cage this butterfly." Only this time it finally made sense. Because freedom, I realized, isn't doing whatever you want. It's knowing when to walk away from what you don't deserve. And I was done being someone else's lesson. By Thursday morning, the silence started to hum louder than the ocean outside my cabin. I hadn't turned my phone on in almost 3 days. The thought of facing Jay's messages made my chest tighten, but not from fear, from curiosity. I wanted to hear what panic sounded like when it finally ran out of poetry. When the phone booted up, it practically convulsed, vibrating non-stop notification bubbles multiplying across the screen like an infection. I scrolled through them slowly, methodically, like a scientist examining samples under glass. The first few were predictable. Jay, hey babe, just checking in. Hope you're okay. Then Linda, please answer. I'm worried. Then, what the hell, Linda? This isn't funny. And finally, so now you're ghosting me. You always hated drama, but this is dramatic as hell. Voicemails followed. Dozens of them. The progression was almost cinematic, concerned, confused, irritated, then desperate. My favorite was a long pause before he whispered, "Are you with someone?" That one made me laugh out loud. Jay, the man who missed my birthday for a sound bath, now couldn't handle a few days of his own medicine. By the time I reached the last voicemail, my coffee had gone cold. I listened to his final words, the bitterness seeping through the speaker. "You're acting like I'm the villain, Linda. You're twisting things. You've always had control issues." I stared at the phone, the corners of my lips twitching. Maybe I murmured, "But look who's losing control now." That night, I got dressed in something simple. Jeans, a white shirt, hair tied back, and drove into town. A few of my coworkers were having a trivia night at a bar. I hadn't planned to go, but the thought of being around normal people, predictable people, sounded like therapy. The bar was warm, filled with chatter and laughter that didn't sound curated. My colleague Mia waved me over, handing me a drink. "Linda, you made it." "Didn't think you'd come." I smiled. Neither did I. As the night went on, I found myself laughing genuinely, laughing for the first time in months. We lost horribly in trivia, but it didn't matter. The air felt light, like I'd stepped out of a fog I didn't realize I'd been living in. Before leaving, I took a photo of the group. Nothing posed, just a blur of smiles and raised glasses. I posted it with a caption, "Great minds think alike." It wasn't meant as a message, not at first. But 10 minutes later, my phone started buzzing again. Jay had seen it. "Jay, what's this? Who are those people? Why didn't you tell me you were back?" I stared at the text for a long time, then finally replied, "Just following my truth. You understand, right? You taught me this." He called instantly. I let it ring twice before answering. "Where the hell have you been?" His voice was sharp, the performative calm gone. I sipped my drink, following my bliss. "Remember you said we shouldn't let expectations cage us." "This isn't funny, Linda. I've been worried sick." "I'm fine." "You could have at least told me you were leaving town." "Oh, you mean like when you bailed on the wedding, or my birthday?" "That's different." "Why?" I asked quietly. "Because this time you're the one being left behind." He went silent. For once he had no mystical explanation about energy or alignment. Just breathing, ragged, frustrated human. "You can't just disappear," he said finally. "Why not?" I smiled faintly. "You do it all the time." "This isn't you. You're not like this." "I wasn't," I admitted. "You taught me to be." He exhaled sharply. "You're mocking me." "I'm mirroring you," I said. "There's a difference." He hung up. I sat there, phone still in my hand, heartbeat steady. No guilt, no hesitation, just the quiet satisfaction of balance restored. The next morning, I woke early sunlight streaming through the curtains. I made coffee, opened my laptop, and began writing. Not a diary, something better. A list. Every time Jay had flaked, lied, or spun his selfishness into spiritual wisdom. Missed birthday dinner. Lost track of time at meditation. Skipped family party. Negative energy from crowds. Canceled anniversary plans, needed alone time to recharge. By the 10th line, I stopped writing. I didn't need the list anymore. I already knew the truth. Jay's freedom had always depended on my restraint. That night, I went to bed early, feeling the kind of exhaustion that wasn't sadness but release. And in that space between sleep and waking, I realized something that made me laugh softly into the dark. He wasn't the only free spirit in this relationship anymore. He just hadn't realized that the moment I stopped chasing him, I became the one flying. By Friday morning, I felt calm. Not happy exactly, just clear. Like every noise in my head had finally burned itself out. Outside, the city was soft with early light, and the air smelled like wet concrete after rain. I made coffee and opened my laptop, scrolling through my camera roll. Jay once told me that stories are what give pictures their soul, so I decided to tell one his story. Our story. The unfiltered version. Photo 1, the art museum I'd begged him to visit 6 times. He always said, museums kill spontaneity. Photo 2, the steak dinner he canceled on because he was detoxing from processed emotions. Photo 3, My pottery piece, small and imperfect, shaped with hands that used to wait for his. Photo for me at trivia night, laughing. Really laughing. I arranged them into a collage and stared at the screen for a long moment. Then I typed the caption slowly, deliberately. Amazing week of self-discovery. Thank you, Jay, for teaching me that freedom doesn't mean running away. It means showing up for yourself. Sometimes you have to miss the planned moments to find the real ones. Hashtag free spirit, #unbound. I tagged him. For a full minute, I just sat there watching the screen, waiting for the tremor of regret that never came. Then I hit post. By the time I finished my coffee, the post had already caught fire. Likes, comments, shares, familiar usernames flooding in like a tide. Leah Art. Wait, wasn't he the guy who bailed on her cousin's wedding? At Tina H. Oh, wow. This is brutal. I love it. At Nina writes. Finally someone teaching the teacher. At Luna Marsh. Yes, that Luna, his ex. Finally someone called him out. I almost spit out my drink when I saw that one. Luna, the self-proclaimed empath, who used to post photos of their conscious uncoupling, now publicly siding with me. The irony was cinematic. It took Jay exactly 42 minutes to call. I let it ring, then again, then again. On the fourth attempt, I answered. His voice was tight, the calm rehearsed but cracking at the edges. What the hell did you just post? A collage, I said, feigning confusion. You've posted plenty. I thought you'd be proud. You tagged me in it, Linda. I did. I wanted you to see how much you've inspired me. You're humiliating me. Am I, or am I just reflecting? This isn't funny. No, I said softly. It's not. It's honest. You made me look like a... I didn't make you look like anything, I interrupted. I just showed people what you already were. For a moment, all I heard was his breathing. Then quieter, you know I hate public drama. Jay, I said, voice steady. Everything about you is public. You made our life a brand. You used me for captions, angles, authenticity. I'm just contributing content. There was a long pause before he muttered, You'll regret this. Maybe, I said, but at least I'll feel something real while I do. Then I ended the call. That evening I went for a walk. The city looked different, warmer somehow. Maybe it was just me finally seeing it without his filter. When I returned home, the post had doubled in engagement. My DMs were a mix of strangers thanking me for saying what needed to be said, and others sending heart emojis. But the best messages came from his circle, people who'd known Jay longer than I had. Paula B. He used to cancel shoots last minute for the same reasons. Didn't feel aligned. We all thought it was charming. At Matt Designs. He once no-showed my wedding photos because he said vows triggered his inner child. You're a saint for lasting 2 years. At Leah Art Girl. The entire creative community is clapping right now. Jay's carefully curated world was cracking piece by piece under the weight of his own hypocrisy. When I checked his page later, he'd turned off comments on his last 5 posts. The once saturated grid of sunsets and spiritual quotes suddenly looked hollow, like a museum of someone who used to believe his own lines. Hours later, my phone buzzed again. A text this time. Jay, you made everyone think I'm a fraud. I typed back, you made everyone think you were a prophet. I just turned the mirror around. No reply. Before bed, I scrolled through the comment section one last time. Luna had posted again, replying to someone else's remark. Jay was the same with me, always preaching presence while chasing validation. I laughed quietly. The universe really did have a sense of humor. For the first time, I wasn't angry. I wasn't hurt. I was free, not because I'd left him, but because I'd finally stopped waiting for him to grow up. As I set my phone down, I whispered, You wanted to teach people how to live authentically, Jay. Congratulations. You just gave your most authentic lesson yet. And with that, I turned off the lights, letting the night settle around me, like the quiet applause of the universe itself. By Saturday morning, my phone was buzzing like a trapped hornet. Jay had entered the damage control phase, the part where he tries to turn chaos into philosophy. His new post appeared on my feed before I could even pour coffee. A black and white photo of his face, half in shadow, captioned, Sometimes love means letting go of control. I wish her peace on her journey. The comments section flooded fast. His followers swooned like he was the heartbroken poet of the century. At Soulstreamer. She didn't deserve your light. At Boho Queen. Stay strong, King. The universe tests real love. I didn't reply. I didn't even roll my eyes. Because I knew how this worked, Jay's favorite hobby was turning real pain into performance art. 2 hours later, he messaged me. Jay, you win. Everyone's turned on me. Can we at least talk like adults? I ignored it. By noon, he'd posted again. This time, a carousel of text slides quotes about toxic people, energy vampires, and the pain of being misunderstood. He'd tagged the last one #had healing. The comments shifted. Some still defended him. Others started to question. At Michelle.art. Didn't she post proof, though? At Carly writes. If she's toxic, why did you copy her captions last week? The tide was turning. Slowly, inevitably. That afternoon, I received a DM from a name I didn't expect Luna Marsh. Luna, you're not wrong about him. I used to think I was crazy too. He'd vanish for days, come back quoting Rumi and talking about alignment, then disappear again. Me. He said you were the unstable one. Luna. Of course he did. He always needs a villain to stay the hero. I stared at that message for a while, a strange sadness blooming in my chest. Luna wasn't my ally. She was my future if I hadn't woken up. Jay called that evening. I let it ring twice before answering. Why are you doing this to me? His voice was low, cracked at the edges. You've ruined my career. I've lost 2 brand deals already. I didn't ruin your career, I said calmly. I just stopped protecting your image. You think this is noble? You're destroying someone's life over social media posts. You built your life on social media posts, I replied. I'm just showing the blooper reel. He went quiet. Then, almost childlike, Linda, I love you. No, Jay, I said softly. You love being adored. The silence that followed was heavy, fragile. I could almost hear his composure cracking. Then came the shift. His tone hardened. You'll regret humiliating me. I know things about you, too. I exhaled. You mean like how I stayed loyal to a man who kept teaching me lessons about freedom while cheating responsibility? Go ahead, post it. Let's see who still buys it. He didn't reply, just hung up. Later that night, my phone rang again, but it wasn't him. It was a number I didn't recognize. When I answered, a soft voice said, Linda, this is Margaret Alford. Is Jay's mother. I almost hung up expecting a guilt trip, but instead she sighed. I'm sorry for what my son did to you. I froze. I failed him, she continued. His father left when Jay was 10. Every time Jay got in trouble, I told him he was special, that rules didn't apply to him. I thought I was protecting him. I was raising a child who can't handle consequence. There was nothing for me to say. My throat was tight, my pulse slow. Don't let him pull you back, she said. He'll promise change when what he really wants is control. Please don't answer his calls again. When she hung up, I sat in silence. The truth hit harder than anger ever could. Jay wasn't evil. He was hollow. A man raised on exceptions who thought love was another indulgence. But by then, it didn't matter. His collapse had begun. By Monday, screenshots of his old messages and canceled commitments were circulating online. People shared my post like a public service announcement, don't romanticize irresponsibility. He posted one last attempt at damage control, a photo of himself sitting by the ocean, looking mournful. Caption. The hardest prison is other people's perception. The top comment read, at Luna Marsh Try, showing up before talking about prisons. That one made me laugh so hard I nearly spilled my coffee. It was poetic, fitting. The man who once preached freedom, now trapped in the image he built for himself. When I left the apartment that day, the sky was bright and clean. I felt weightless, like someone had opened a window inside me. I walked past a cafe window and caught my reflection. Steady eyes, calm shoulders. A woman I almost didn't recognize. For the first time in years, I wasn't the muse. I wasn't the lesson. I was the one holding the camera. And I finally understood what freedom really looked like. Quiet, earned, and completely mine. A week later, the storm had quieted, but its wreckage was everywhere. Jay's follower count had dropped by nearly half. His inspirational posts, once flooded with heart emojis, now sat under hundreds of comments dissecting his hypocrisy. Brands began distancing themselves, quietly removing old collaborations. Even his podcast, Unbound Hearts, was pulled indefinitely. I didn't celebrate. I didn't post another word. I simply watched. Because that's what happens to people like Jay. They burn bright on borrowed light until someone finally switches off the power. Meanwhile, my own life began to feel startlingly simple. I'd returned to work, and on Friday afternoon, my boss called me into her office. We saw how you handled that social media mess, she said, smiling. The tone, the clarity, it was smart, professional, human. We're looking for a new social media strategist. You interested? I was speechless for a second. Then I laughed softly. You mean my breakup is now my portfolio? She grinned. In this business, authenticity sells, and you've got that in spades. When I left the office that day, the sunlight hit just right, soft, golden, forgiving. I hadn't realized how much tension I'd been carrying until it wasn't there anymore. That weekend, I decided to go back to the pottery studio. The same instructor greeted me with that clay-dusted smile. "Back for round 2, he asked. "Round 2, I said, but this time I'm aiming for symmetry." He laughed. "Aren't we all?" His name was Leo, I learned. We worked side by side, kneading quiet into shape. He didn't talk much, and I liked that. There was no performance, no lesson, no metaphors about alignment. Just presence. When I accidentally dented the side of my bowl, he said, "Don't fix it, let it stay. That's how you know it's yours." Something about that line stuck with me. Maybe because it was the opposite of Jay's world, where everything had to be flawless and profound. After class, Leo asked, "You want to grab coffee next door?" I hesitated, the reflex of old fear twitching beneath my ribs. Then I smiled. "Sure. But I'm warning you, I actually like schedules." He laughed. "Good. I like showing up." That simple exchange felt more intimate than any grand gesture Jay had ever made. By Sunday night, we'd made plans for dinner next weekend. He confirmed the time twice, even sent me the restaurant's menu in case you want to plan ahead. It was the smallest, kindest rebellion against the chaos I'd endured. That evening, while watering the plants on my balcony, I scrolled through my phone. My feed was quiet now, no wars, no drama. Just art books, photos of sunsets that didn't belong to anyone. Then I noticed something. Jay had posted again. A photo of himself at a meditation retreat, eyes closed, face tilted toward the sun, caption, "Healing from narcissistic abuse. The journey continues." The comments were merciless. @ArtBJ. "Oh, now you're the victim." At Miles23. "Bro, didn't you ghost your girlfriend for a moon circle at Luna Marsh Therapy first? #accountability." I exhaled a soft laugh. It wasn't anger anymore. It was pity. He'd never understand that true healing doesn't come from hashtags or curated pain. It comes quietly in the moments no one else sees, like sitting in a pottery studio shaping clay or laughing over coffee with someone who means what they say. I opened my camera and pointed it toward the balcony railing. A butterfly had landed there, wings folded like a secret. It stayed still for a moment before fluttering off into the blue. I took the photo and stared at it for a while. Then I posted it, my first and only post since everything ended. Caption, "You can't cage what's finally free." No tags, no hashtags, no explanations. Just peace. That night I didn't scroll. I didn't check the likes. I left my phone on the counter, made tea, and sat by the window as the city hummed quietly below. Freedom. I realized isn't loud. It doesn't need validation. It's soft, slow, and steady, like breath after panic, like clay taking form, like light returning after a storm. Jay taught me what emptiness looked like when it tried to call itself art. But I taught myself what wholeness feels like when it stops asking for permission. And that's the thing about butterflies,